Hello and welcome to On the Turf, hosted by three guys who have never been on the turf. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Sri Bamkanda.
And I'm Ron Patel.
And it's been a couple weeks, but we're all three finally together. It's playoffs. We got a ton to talk about today, so let's just get right into it. The regular season is over. Week 18 is over. This season has gone by exceptionally fast, I feel like, even more than last season. But this is the best time to be a football fan. Obviously, great news on the Damar Hamlin front. He's back at home now, discharged earlier today. So, last week I know we wanted to talk about its effects for player safety and all that. And I'm sure we'll have more discussions about that in the offseason. But it's great to see that he's home. And, I feel like now we can really be fans of football now that this really unfortunate event he's recovered from it. So let's just kick it off. Wildcard weekend kicks off with the Seattle Seahawks going to San Francisco to face off against their division rival, the 49ers. The Seahawks made it in. The Packers and Lions lost. We'll talk about the Packers a little bit later and the fallout there.
What a game.
Look, I was rooting for the Lions.
Really?
I was. But Packers didn't make it. Seahawks are in. They're facing a red-hot 49ers team that are favored by 10.5 points at home. What do you guys think about this game? The odds make your team to think that San Francisco's got this in the bag.
Well, I'll start. I think that the 10.5 line is definitely a lot. But, you look at the Niners on a 10-game winning streak. Brock Purdy at quarterback really you haven't been able to tell the difference so far. The transition from Jimmy Garoppolo has been seamless, to say the least. The Seahawks, on the other hand, I'd say they're kind of limping into these playoffs. They got in on the overtime win against the Rams in Week 18. They beat the Jets before that, but outside of their very hot start, they've definitely cooled off since then. I think the Niners defense is going to pose a lot of fits for Geno Smith. He threw 2 picks to Jalen Ramsey just this last game. He hasn't been as good with the ball and as safe with the ball as he was earlier this year. I think that the Seahawks will, put up a bit of a fight. I don't think they'll go away easy, but this is the Niners game to lose.
Yeah, I completely agree with Rohan. In fact, I actually don't even think it's going to, I don't even think they're going to put up a fight. And I just think this 49ers defense is just so stacked. It's so loaded. They went from 3-4 and now they're 13-4. I feel like that speaks volumes in and of itself. And I feel like Geno Smith, that Rams one was not convincing at all. Like, I feel like if I'm a Seahawks fan, I'm very worried right now. In fact, truthfully, I feel like, the coach has no, confidence either. Like, he was asked about it. Like, Pete Carroll was asked about it in a press conference about how he feels about, like, going into the playoffs. And he's like, we're playing the 49ers. Whatsoever. Just no confidence. And, for me, I feel like the whole world knows this, right? Like, I feel like the 49ers, pretty convincingly, will probably, make it to the divisional, and if not, the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going to take the 49ers here as well. I'm a big 49ers fan, have been this whole season. I'm going to continue to ride with them. I will say, this is a division game. Yeah. These guys have played each other 3 times. It's hard to be a division rival 3 times in one season. And Pete Carroll's, he's proven this year that he's still got it and he's still a great coach. So I expect the Seahawks to put up a fight. If you're betting, I would take the Seahawks against the spread. I think they'll make it a 1-score game. The last time they played, it was a 1-score game eventually by the end of it. But I do think the 49ers win it at the end of the day. Next up, later Saturday night, in my opinion, the best matchup of the weekend.
This will be the most fun game of the weekend, yeah. I can assure you guys.
2 young quarterbacks in their playoff debuts. The Los Angeles Chargers, after all the hype this offseason, are headed to the playoffs. Justin Herbert leading his team against a red-hot Jacksonville Jaguars team that I believe is on a 6-game win streak.
6-game win streak, yeah.
6-game win streak. Playing at home. They got the division win last weekend against the Titans, who were really struggling down the stretch. But they got the win when they needed it most. Defense came up big in the second half. This is a really close line right now. The Chargers are favored by just 1.5. Would not be surprised if it starts to just shift to a pick'em by the time it kicks off on Saturday, because I think, for me, I really like the Jaguars in this spot. As Rohan can tell you, in the past couple of days, I've been going back and forth with these 2 teams. Justin Herbert, I love him, one of my favorite players in the league. But for me, it comes down to the coaching matchup. Doug Peterson has shown this year that he really should have been at the top of the coaching list at last offseason. He was a huge acquisition for Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, despite not a great game, last week. He's been really fantastic down the stretch, and this defense can make big plays. Brandon Staley, questionable coaching decisions, especially in Week 18, to put his starters in, and then Mike Williams got injured. Justin Herbert is a great equalizer. He will make things close, but I think Trevor Lawrence gets it in a relative shootout between these two teams.
Interesting. So, I mean, we were talking about, you talk about Brandon Staley. I think that's a really important note for this game. A lot is riding on this game for Brandon Staley. There's talks that if he loses it, he's out as a Chargers head coach, and that's a fair. I think it's a fair, play. I think for the Chargers to make. If Brandon Staley, his issue has been that he can't coach in these big games. He keeps choking away these games that he should be winning. And this is a game where the Chargers, I mean, they are the more talented team, They have, I would say right now, the better quarterback. They have better receivers. They have a better offense in general, right? And their defense, their secondary has been weak. But again, you look at players like Derwin James, Joey Bosa. There's playmakers on this defense too. They have the more talented team. This is a game they should win. That being said, I do think the Jaguars are going to make this closer just because they have been very, very good. But we saw issues with the Jaguars too. Week 18, a must-win game. The offense is flat. They only won because of a defensive touchdown on a strip sack. So I really don't know what the outcome is going to be here. I think the Chargers' offense has been a bit more consistent for me, which is why I'm leaning towards them. I know Justin Herbert's a known quantity. Granted, he's never been in the playoffs, but he's been in these big games before. Trevor Lawrence, second year, already in the playoffs. I'm not sold on him just yet. I might be coming back to this in a week and be eating my words, but right now I'm riding with the Chargers. I think they can come to Duval and take the win.
Yeah, for me, I just feel like the Chargers are more clutch in the fourth quarter. I feel like they do, choke away sometimes, but I think Justin Herbert, if I'm going to trust a quarterback in the clutch, I feel like I'm going to lead towards Justin Herbert right now. And, I feel like that's the most, important factor for me. I don't care if my coaching's bad. If my quarterback's good, he's going to make plays in the fourth quarter. That's all that matters. I feel like, as a Viking supporter, I understand what clutch means. I understand what fourth quarter means.
That's a crazy statement.
I understand. I understand what the final 2 minutes mean, and I understand what that last throw means. And I think that Justin Herbert is going to carry that team. And I'm going to take the Chargers on this one. It's going to be close, and it probably is going to be the best game of the weekend. But just because of Justin Herbert, man, I think
there's going to be a lot of points in this game for sure. It'll be fun to see who comes out on top.
Yeah, I think you guys are making me reevaluate my choice, but I'm going to stick with the Jaguars.
Stick with the Jaguars, okay.
Next one, Sunday, 1 o'clock. The Miami Dolphins linked into the playoffs with Skylar Thompson.
This is so stupid. This is so stupid.
I hate the Jets.
Tree
and I are salty because found out earlier today Tua Tagovailoa is not going to be able to play this game, and we've talked about his third concussion this year. A lot of safety concerns with 3 concussions in basically 4 months. Pittsburgh Steelers were 9-8 right there. If the Dolphins lost against the Jets, the Steelers would be sitting in the spot.
Would you rather see the Steelers get whooped by the Bills? Is that your idea
I think the Steelers are going to put up a better fight than the Dolphins with Skylar Thompson.
Wasn't it 38-3? Was that the last time you guys played?
Rohan. My issue.
I'm just asking.
Just like the Dolphins. The Dolphins were a different team
just asking.
In Week 5 or in Week 4 when they played the Bills. We are a different team. The Steelers are a different team than Week 5.
Wait, Rohan. I'm just frustrated because every single time the Steelers don't make the playoffs, they have a really high draft position for the next year.
I disagree.
About your frustration with your the Steelers can't make the playoffs.
We are in a very privileged position as Steelers fans, I think.
Yeah.
To count.
We have every single time is at the 18th pick. I don't want to hear it. All right, it's whatever.
Look,
are you serious? Shut up. Do you want to be 4-12, 4-13, Shree?
Low key, with a better, more talented. I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. Go be a full-time Vikings fan. We don't want you in Steeler Nation anymore. But anyway, getting back to the Bills, I think this is going to be a blowout. Far more than the Seahawks-Niners game. The line right now is 9.5. I think it hasn't adjusted for Tua being completely out. This could go up to, I think, 12, 13 points. I would hammer the Bills. The Bills are playing with emotion. They're playing with heart. And they're playing with a really talented team. The Dolphins with Skylar Thompson put up 9 points and have safety in the last play of the game. Mike McDaniel's a magician, but even I don't think he can do this against a Super Bowl contending Bills team.
Yeah, right now the Bills going all the way. I think that this is really just a tune-up for them in these playoffs. I mean, if Tua is in this game, I'm giving the Dolphins a lot more of a chance. They beat the Bills once earlier.
He's officially out. He's out.
I know. I'm saying if he was in, I'd say they beat the Bills earlier in the year. They played them close the second time in a snow game. But without him, I mean, the offense is really just inept. It's disappointing too. You got Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, but if you can't get them the ball, there's nothing you can do. Really a fairly easy pick, I think, to hammer the Bills here.
Yeah, I think it's just sad. You're bringing up like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't think there are a lot of defenses that can really stick with them, and I don't think the Bills defense can hold two maybe potentially top 10 receivers in the league like right now. And it's just sad to see because Skylar Thompson he put up 9 points against the Jets
against the Jets.
Against the Jets. And I know the Jets defense is good, but he's not going to be able to do anything. I don't think there's really much to go off of. He's like a third string quarterback. It's just unfortunate, man. But I want to take the Bills.
Bridgewater also.
I think Bridgewater, they're preparing for Skylar Thompson to play. So he has the broken pinky.
Right.
Last I heard, last week he couldn't even throw a football. So either way.
Not looking great in Miami.
But 4 o'clock, the New York Giants are going to Minnesota against the Vikings.
We saw this happen a few weeks ago.
And it came down to a 61-yard field goal that the Vikings, by the grace of the Almighty, got it in.
They're clutch, right?
They're clutch.
No.
Look, I've been against the Vikings all season. I like this Giants team. I think they're frisky. I think their defense plays well, and I think Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are clutch as hell. I'm taking the Giants in the upset here. I think I think it'll be close. Both of these teams play it very close all the time. But I trust Brian Dable. I trust Daniel Jones. Can't believe I just said that last sentence, but I do trust Daniel Jones.
He has been playing amazing.
The Vikings have gotten killed this year at points by teams like the Packers, who didn't make it, the Cowboys, and the Eagles too. Yeah. I think the bill comes due for the Vikings in the first round.
I mean, listen, I trust Daniel Jones too, but I'll tell you who I trust more. Kirk Cousins.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah. No, Justin Jefferson's the smarter answer there. Yeah. But listen, I mean, like you said, Shree, this team is clutch. I mean, it's a crazy thing to say considering this Vikings team usually isn't, but you look at, they've won, 11, 12 one-score games. One of them was against the Giants. I do think this game will be close. In fact, because this game is close is why I'm leaning towards the Vikings. It's the fact that I think Daniel Jones, if it comes down to it, if you have to lead a 2-minute drive and what is going to be a close game, can he do it with literally practice squad wide receivers? I think the Giants can keep their games close because Saquon, teams have to account for him, right? They have to account for Saquon. They have to account for the ability for Daniel Jones to run with the ball as well. Dable's done a great job of making things easy for his quarterback, I think. And Jones has been making great plays too. But at the end of the day, if this is a close game, if you have to lead a 2-minute drive down the field, I don't think this Giants team can do it because of their lack of talent in the pass catching department. On the other hand, we've seen the Vikings do this time and time again. They have Adam Thielen. I don't know why I started with him. Justin Jefferson, obviously. Then Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, TJ Hawkinson, Dalvin Cook out of the backfield. The offense is really what sets it apart here. I do worry that the Vikings defense will get gashed early and often by Saquon, but even then, we've seen this team come back from leads before. There's a clear path to victory for the Giants. I think it starts with pounding the ball with Saquon Barkley, getting the play action going, and getting out to a big lead and maintaining it. But there's just so many paths to victory for the Vikings. They can come back, they can get out ahead, and I think that because of that, they're my pick to win. I'm not going to be shocked by an upset, but I think the Vikings are the safer option here.
Okay, so I actually have a good bit of reasons and genuine, factually based reasons where I actually think
based. I would like to preempt Shree's statement by saying Shree's an actual Vikings fan, so there's gonna be some homerism here. I'm predicting that.
Okay. Let me tell you, and these are actually I feel fundamentally true about both of these teams. If there's anything about the Vikings defense that's really bad, it's their secondary. And I feel like if anything, the better part of their defense is probably that pass rush, that run defense, if anything. And I feel like, what do I think about when I think of the Giants offense? I think about Saquon Barkley. I think about what he's going to do with that team. If anything is going to happen, I feel like the Vikings run defense is going to take priority and try to shut them down. But even if the Giants want to go with the passing game, to focus on what seems to be a very weak Vikings secondary, like Rohan said, who is Daniel Jones going to throw to? I feel like I lose a little bit of trust in Patrick Peterson sometimes because he's guarding like top 10 wide receivers. But when he's guarding people, I don't even know the New York Giants receiver's name to become. Oh, Kenny Galladay. Actually, you know what? Kenny Galladay is a little bit scary.
Kenny
sometimes.
Galladay cooked Darius Slay.
Put some respect
Yeah,
on Isaiah.
I'm not gonna lie. He did cook against Darius Slay. But even other than that, I feel like this game is at home. And the most important factor in this game, every single one of the losses that the Vikings have had this year, Justin Jefferson has been limited. And I feel like that's, a reoccurring theme that's happened every single one of their losses. Against the Eagles, Justin Jefferson did nothing. Who else did they lose to?
The Cowboys.
The Cowboys, Justin Jefferson was fairly limited. But I genuinely don't think the New York secondary is going to be able to limit Justin Jefferson. And I feel like
I don't think they can.
And I think it's actually a little depleted.
If you sell out to, Dory Jackson is not bad. Darnay Holmes is not terrible either. If they sell out to protect Justin Jefferson just the same way the Vikings defense is going to do towards Saquon, I think overall, I think the Giants unit, because let's not forget this Vikings pass defense is god awful. Like it's terrible.
Arjun, let me tell you, right?
It's just a game of strengths and weaknesses, and
the
weakness of the Giants is their receiving core.
So, not bad and not terrible are not going to cut it for Justin Jefferson. I feel like there are, good pieces on this Vikings run defense, like Zadarius Smith, Daniil Hunter, that are, better than not terrible, right? They're, top 10 pass rushers that I feel like are going to do something. But even if the Giants do get to an amazing lead, this is a Vikings team that made history this year. This is a Vikings team that can come back from any kind of lead. Fourth quarter in the last 2 minutes. It's all Minnesota. It's at home. They're going to get to victory. I'm taking the Vikings, no question.
Let's move on. Sunday night, Ravens at Bengals. Important thing here, Lamar Jackson, I've been reading some reports earlier today. He's trending toward not playing. It's not due to the contract situation. It seems that his PCL just hasn't fully healed yet. I think he wants to play, but simply, the pain is too much. So if Lamar doesn't play, Cincinnati's favored by 7 right now. This line could grow. I'm going to take Cincinnati. It's not too hard of an equation here. Tyler Huntley hasn't been great. He's lost games to I would say the Steelers aren't an amazing team, and the Bengals are much better than them. Joe Burrow in clutch spots, he's going to get it done with this defense that I think has been underrated all season and can really limit Tyler Huntley in that run game. The Bengals defense is just really skilled at taking away a team's best strength, and I think they're going to do that, and I think they get the win and move on to the divisional.
You keep talking about the Bengals defense. What part of it is actually good?
I'll tell you.
Statistically, where are they strong?
They're a top 10 defense. I believe they're top 10 in run defense. They're a really talented pass defense. They've suffered a little bit since Chidobe Awuzie got injured in October in the Halloween game. But overall, they're just a really strong, super sound unit, right? Their pass rush, Trey Hendrickson is really good. Sam Hubbard's been filling in pretty well. They don't have any big stars, but I think as a unit, they're one of the most underrated in the league.
Well, I think that if Lamar plays, then the outlook of this game changes a lot. I'm taking the Bengals, obviously, but I'm not taking the line. I think that the Ravens will make it close. Like you said, it's a divisional game. I think the Ravens keep it in a score. Their defense has been outstanding. I saw a stat that ever since Roquan Smith was implemented in this defense, they've been top 5 in points per game. Run defense, pass defense. This has been an elite defense, really, after the inclusion of Roquan Smith, and he got his 5-year, $100 million contract because of it. I think that the Ravens do pose some, issues for Joe Burrow. I don't think it's going to stop him, obviously. I think that the issue with this Ravens team is that they're so one-dimensional offensively. They don't have their star quarterback, their MVP quarterback. It's a pretty simple equation, like you said. I think this game is going to be closer than most people are thinking, just because the Ravens have that defense. They are going to be preparing for this game in back-to-back weeks, essentially, right? So I think this will be closer than expected, but I would obviously take the Bengals with Lamar out.
Yeah, I feel like, I feel like contrary to what everyone's thinking, I feel like the Ravens secondary is actually kind of depleted. And I feel like, Bengals wide receivers are really going to take advantage of that. I think we saw it, last week, right? Like Jamar Chase with that amazing touchdowns, on the sideline, sideline catch. It's just hard to stop this Bengals offense in general for any team. And I feel like it's going to be worse for the Ravens just because the secondary is just so bad. Not bad. It's great, obviously. But, it is depleted. I don't think they have Marcus Peters is out. And they're relying on people that I don't even know the names of. So I don't necessarily think the Bengals are going to have that much of a challenge here just because I feel like I trust that Bengals offense more. And I feel like, even if that defense might be a problem, like the best teams like the Chiefs, they don't necessarily need to have like a great defense. I don't think the Chiefs have a top 10 defense. They may do, but that's not what they're known for.
Yeah, they're not great.
Yeah. The point I'm trying to make is like, you don't need a great defense to win as long as your offense is going to compensate for it. And I feel like that's what the Bengals are going to do against the Ravens. So I'm taking the Bengals, and I am going to take the line as well.
All right. So last one. I think this is maybe.
I think this is the best story.
This is the most exciting one for me, and it's for so many reasons. The Dallas Cowboys. We've been talking about this game for like almost 2 months now because it's been looking that these two teams are going to play. Dallas Cowboys heading to Tampa Bay, take on the GOAT. Brady is 7-0 against the Cowboys in his 22, 23-year playing career. The Cowboys are the more talented team. The Buccaneers are 8-9, and they deserve to be. They probably deserve to be worse than that. Outside Tom Brady, this team is not good at all. But Tom Brady has willed them to wins in 2-minute drills basically this entire season. This team is really spotty. On the other hand, the Cowboys are a team that's very talented, has people all across the field who are really talented, but they've really underachieved in the past couple weeks in particular. We saw them lose earlier this season to teams like the Packers, but more recently they got taken pretty close by Josh Dobbs on Thursday night, and they got blown out by the Commanders and Sam Howell in Week 18, which is not a good way you want to end your season. The Cowboys have shown that they can be a really destructive Super Bowl caliber team at times. They've also shown they can be a lot worse than that. I've been wrestling with this game a ton, but I'm going to trust, my heart is telling me take Tom Brady, take the Bucs. I'm going to trust my brain here. I'm going to go with the Cowboys. I think they're just simply better on all sides of the ball. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are not a good football team. Tom Brady loses in Tampa Bay for potentially his final game as a Buccaneer and his final game in his career.
Incorrect. Tom Brady is winning this game. Listen, I don't like Tom Brady by any means, okay? But I just don't see I don't see how he loses. I mean, okay, it's clear how he loses. So he has the worst team, right? But there's just something about it, isn't there?
I mean, I'm not going to dispute. I think Tom Brady.
He's playing at home. I mean, in close games this year, the Buccaneers come out on top an awful lot. He's run those 2-minute drills. There's games when it's close and comes down the wire, and then it feels inevitable, doesn't it? I was watching the Saints game a few weeks ago. I was watching another game against the Cardinals game a few weeks ago. I mean, these are games that were closer than they should have been, but Tom Brady always finds a way. And I just feel like the Buccaneers aren't going to let Dallas run away with this. I think that this defense, it's not a bad defense by any means.
Yeah.
I think the defense held up well.
Defense has kept them in a lot of games.
Their run defense is fantastic. If you limit Tony Pollard and you limit Ezekiel Elliott, then you put the ball in Dak Prescott's hands. And with Dak, it's like, is he elite? I don't know.
He doesn't look that elite.
I mean, he's been very, very turnover prone recently. Granted, some have been mistakes by his receivers, but whatever the case, this Dallas team does turn the ball over, right? I mean, he threw a few picks against Washington, threw a few picks against Tennessee. And you can't give those opportunities to Tom Brady. You can't give him a short field. Mike Evans really looked great in Week 17, one game, but Week 17 was the most important game of the Buccaneers season. Yeah. Mike Evans goes off. Now he gets Trayvon Diggs. I mean, I like Mike Evans in that matchup. Chris Godwin has been solid, putting up good numbers. Tom Brady, 45 years old, he's still the third in the entire league in passing yards. I mean, yeah, I'm obviously skipping over all the Bucs' flaws, which are the fact that
they have no run game whatsoever.
Zero run game. Rashad White, Leonard Fournette, I mean, they've been very inconsistent. Half the time it feels like they're just checking the ball down instead of making throws down the field. Their offensive line hasn't been good at all, not giving Brady enough time to throw. Ton of issues. I acknowledge that, okay?
Yeah.
But just something about this game, Brady has the it factor. I don't think the Cowboys have it just yet.
Yeah, Arjun, I feel like if anyone, I feel like you respect the it factor more than anything. I feel like
I thought you would go with your gut in this game.
Yeah,
I'm
really.
surprised that you're making that pick.
Yeah,
because,
I honestly am too.
I feel like we flipped. I feel like usually I would go with my head and pick the better team.
Look, I'll explain. I've been burned this whole year by believing Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, they're going to get it done, right? But the more I realize is these two quarterbacks are still good. They are not the kind of quarterbacks now who can – I mean, Tom Brady has elevated this team better than they would be otherwise, right? Aaron Rodgers has elevated the Packers to a better team than they would be otherwise. But Are they good to take their team to the full level they need to be? No. And the reality is the Cowboys are a very good team. They can be a very good team. And I don't think they'll make it to the Super Bowl this year, but I think they know the pressure that's on them. And especially after getting humiliated last week in Week 18, I think that's a big factor for them. They don't want to get humiliated again. They're going to be extra motivated. They're not going to go into this game thinking we're playing this terrible 8-9 team. No, they realize the whole world is picking against them right now. And when their back is against the wall, I think the Cowboys get it done.
You know, I feel like if anything, the whole world's against Brady all the time, like in general, right? Like I feel like we are.
But everyone's picking the upset here.
No,
you know what I mean?
yeah, I got you. Yeah, you know, this is hard, man. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be. All right.
Go with your heart, True. What is your heart telling you?
No, my heart's telling me the Bucs are gonna win, and listen, like I feel like there is no wrong answer here, so like no one can get criticized. Like even Arjun, me, you, Rohan, like all of us have a good reasons for it, and I feel like every single NFL fan's gonna think this is gonna be a close game. It's in Tampa Bay, it's with Tom Brady, a talented defense that they're playing against, in Dallas, but. Every single one of these teams, I feel like, over the years, there's one team that like starts to heat up over time. And I feel like this year, like it's been like the Jaguars, the Chargers, and I feel like the Bucs in some aspects, even though yes, that Washington game like was kind of humiliating for them, they have gotten a lot better than like from the start of the season. I don't know if I can say that about the Dallas Cowboys. Like, we've been saying this. I feel like there's been multiple games where Dak Prescott has thrown like multiple interceptions. If anything, I recognize that this Tampa Bay defense is not good, but if one thing I know, I feel like I wouldn't give the playmakers on this defense an opportunity to do anything. So that's why I'm gonna go with my gut here. I'm gonna take the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But just like the Vikings, they're getting washed out of the division.
All right, so obviously we just talked a lot about these playoff matchups coming up. We have a little bit of an environment change here, but let's move on to our final segment for today. Something I'm calling crystal ball. So I'm gonna ask you guys to predict some stuff coming up in the NFL offseason. We have a lot of potential quarterback movement, potential coaching changes coming up. So let's start off. Let's go to Green Bay. We've avoided talking about this all day, but the Packers lost in a win-and-in situation. Aaron Rodgers. After the game, Jameson Williams, rookie receiver for the Lions, asked Aaron Rodgers for his jersey. He said, I think I'm going to hold on to this one. A lot of speculation. Rodgers could retire, potentially move to a different team. So Aaron Rodgers played his last down in Green Bay. And is he going to retire? Where's he going? What do you guys think?
This is a tough one. I'm going to say no. My reasoning is that, so I was looking at, I was reading some article earlier today. It said that Rodgers still guaranteed $60 million next year if he comes back to play. I don't think you turn down that money. I don't think you're retiring and giving up $60 million. Now, granted, you've obviously made millions in your playing career, but $60 million is tough to turn down in guaranteed money to play another measly year. I think he comes back. I'm not sure if Green Bay wants him to come back. I think they might try to find a trade partner, but again, that's a hefty contract for an aging quarterback who's probably going to be gone after a year. I think Green Bay, the smart move for Green Bay is to find a way to move on. Mm-hmm. They have Jordan Love, who they've kept on the bench for 3 years now. He showed some flashes. I think he came in that Chargers game on Sunday Night Football. Eagles game on Sunday Night Football a few weeks ago. When Rodgers got hurt, and he played well. I mean, granted, it was only a few passes, but I think you have something there that you need to explore. Rodgers isn't leading this team to a Super Bowl next year, obviously. There's not enough going on. I think that he stays, but Green Bay should let him go.
Yeah, I agree with Rohan. If in the very off chance, I feel like if any team's going to go for a veteran quarterback, on a stupid contract, it's going to be the Indianapolis Colts. And even in that situation, I think the Indianapolis Colts are not going to go for it. I think that they're ready for a change. I feel like they recognize that, that streak is over. I feel like Matt Ryan was horrendous for them. Unfortunately, I like Matt Ryan though. So yeah, I everything that you said, Rohan, I agree with it. I think he'll go back. And, I feel like Rodgers is always, he's a big drama baby. And I feel like he's just going to do this all over again.
This obviously depends a lot on next Monday night's results, but first of all, this is kind of a two-parter. Do you guys think that Tom Brady will play next year, return to football? If so, where? Yeah. Personally, don't think he's coming back to Tampa Bay. I think he will come back. I think Vegas is a really good spot for him personally.
Yeah,
but,
I was gonna say that.
You know, we have all those free agent teams. Josh McDaniels is in Vegas though. It gets Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, potentially Josh Jacobs as well if he resigns.
He's not resigning.
But what do you guys think about Tom Brady? What's gonna happen with him?
You want to go first, Rowan?
I'm gonna say stay. And I'm taking a lot of consistency here, but I think that Raiders are a bit too poverty in my opinion. Even if you have a receiver like Devontae Adams, I mean, you look at this Bucs team; they have a lot of the pieces. I think they need to figure something out coaching wise, maybe offensive line wise, and change something there. But I think this Buccaneers team shouldn't be as bad as they were this year. I think he comes back, and they make another playoff run.
You know, one thing that I feel like is really good for a poverty franchise is a quarterback that takes a lot of cut to his salary, and I feel like Tom Brady's been historic for that. He did that with the Bucs, and his money that he gets isn't really that much to whatever caliber that he plays at. I think the Raiders are a good option for him. I think, like Arjun said, he has that chemistry with Josh McDaniels. The weapons there are honestly insane. And if anything, I feel like Tom Brady didn't really have that great of a defense in Tampa Bay, and he won't have that great of a defense in Las Vegas either. And even though it is a competitive division, I feel like Tom Brady to the Raiders would be pretty cool. And, you know, the Raiders then trading Derek Carr to the Carolina Panthers. If this all happens, you know, it started here, by the way. But yeah, that's what I'm going to go with.
I did just mention the Vegas prediction before, but
yeah, but like that was I was gonna say that too.
Carolina prediction, to be fair.
Yeah.
I will say one other dark horse that I was just thinking about. Remember the tampering thing from last year? Miami.
No.
Look, I'm not going to speculate on Tua, but there's 3 concussions this year. Obviously, he didn't perform down the stretch because of injury, but Sean Payton's there too.
They're not getting rid of Mike McDaniel though.
Probably not, but
that's what.
Do you think you could get Tom Brady? Maybe. I think he would be really good with those weapons, though. Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. That's just an out there one. All right, next one. The Bears got the number 1 pick. Houston won. The Bears lost, so they now have the number 1 pick in the draft. A lot of speculation whether they'll draft a quarterback at number 1 or trade down.
No.
What do you guys think the Bears should do with the number 1 overall pick?
I'm gonna go first. Oh shit! You can go. Sorry.
No, you go, Shree.
Just go.
All right. You know, I feel like they should just trade down. You know, you can get a lot of draft capital, you know, after trading the first round pick. I feel like they should trade it down to a team that really is looking for a quarterback. I think Justin Fields really has cemented himself as a franchise quarterback. Even though his passing stats have been like pretty abysmal this season, I feel like a lot of that has to be attributed to the offensive line that's been so horrendous there. It's probably the worst in the league, and I feel like Justin Fields has been making a lot of it. And I feel like they should probably invest in the offensive line. I feel like it's been pretty bad, and they should trade down and just get more draft capital for future years. So I'm gonna go with the Bears.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm gonna say not the Bears. I'm gonna say that they should trade down and draft for the offensive line. God.
Yeah. I agree with that. I mean, I think with the number 1 pick, there are some enticing prospects that are not quarterbacks. You could draft Will Anderson, Jalen Carter, some rushers. I think wouldn't hurt this team if you do that. It's not a bad move, but the better move is to trade down. I mean, we saw the Niners get like the Niners trade up and give away 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance at the 3rd overall pick. I think you can get a lot more here at the number 1 overall pick. A team can get their choice of quarterback: Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, maybe even Will Levis. I don't know. And with this Bears team, I mean, there's so many other holes. They need receiving help. They need offensive line help. You traded away Roquan Smith, and now you need probably like off-ball linebacker help.
They kind of need everything.
They need a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And the one thing that they do have is a serviceable quarterback. I think you keep it that way, trade down, and start filling up those other holes.
I think one thing, Justin Fields, we saw what getting A.J. Brown did for Jalen Hurts, who, we were at a similar stage, not a very good passer, but an exceptionally talented runner. I think Justin Fields may be even more talented as Jalen Hurts was as a runner at this point last year. You please, Bears, get this man number 1.
Get him a receiver, please.
Get him a number 1.
Please.
I think an established receiver even would be better if they can try to get package that with a couple picks, and I think that would be huge for the Bears. Next, Sean Payton is in the coach. He seems like he's going to get a job next year. The question is where. He's currently interviewing with the Broncos. He's currently interviewing with the Texans, and I believe the Cardinals as well. Rohan, I know you want Sean Payton for the Cardinals.
First of all, thank the Lord, Cliff Kingsbury is gone in Arizona. This rivals winning a Super Bowl. I think the feeling of having this
Cliff's a nice guy. He's a good guy.
Sure.
I think he's a great guy.
Black cloud has been removed from the organization. Him and Kyle are both gone. It's reassuring. We're moving in the right direction again. My hopes are already up for next year. But granted, obviously I want Sean Payton to come coach the Cardinals. I think he'd be perfect for Kyler Murray. Realistically, I don't know if that's the right move that he's going to make. I mean, Kyler's going to be out for half of the year. There's talks of shopping DeAndre Hopkins. Defense needs a lot of work. J.J. Watt's retiring as well. I think that he's going to go somewhere where his job is a lot more set. I think he takes that Broncos job because, I mean, we said this before the season started, right? This Broncos job, it looks great. I mean, they have everything they need. All they needed was a quarterback to make it all right, right?
I think they need to rebuild the offensive line.
Granted, some issues came up during the year, but I think it's still the best job out there. It's the most ready-made team to walk in, bring your all-star coaching staff, and make something happen. I mean, we saw Russ seem to get a bit better with Hackett gone. I think Hackett was probably the biggest issue with the Broncos team this year. Put Sean Payton in, and that's a easy playoff team in my opinion.
Yeah, my main issue with Sean Payton is that he dealt with Drew Brees, throughout, his a lot of his career, and Drew Brees was probably one of the best pocket passers of all time. I think Russ is kind of the exact opposite of that. I don't think he is, that great of a pocket passer. I feel like Denver kind of forced him into that role. I feel like, that won't be really a huge concern because obviously coaching is going to change. Listen, where else is it going to go, right, this offseason? Like, I feel like Denver is probably the most attractive job, even though the competition is high. The roster's talented, and like just because a coaching change happens doesn't mean you can't draft an offensive lineman. So, I'm going to lead towards Denver.
I personally, what I think, Sean Payton is praying the Chargers lose on Saturday and Brandon Staley gets fired.
Okay, this is the prediction
true.
I feel
That's
the most
true.
confident. So I'll tell you guys right now. I think Jim Harbaugh gets the Broncos job.
Oh,
Apparently,
I forgot about
he
Harbaugh,
really
yeah.
wants the Broncos job.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the Broncos will offer him, and he will take it. He leaves Michigan. I think Sean McVay leaves the Rams, as been speculating. He told his staff they can look for other jobs. And I think Sean Payton goes to L.A.
No.
He currently lives in L.A. Apparently, he loves it there. He gets Matt Stafford. He gets Cooper Kupp. He gets Aaron Donald. Maybe Jalen Ramsey.
Aaron Donald?
I think Aaron Donald will be back for one more year. But Sean Payton, Matthew Stafford's a veteran quarterback who's proven he can win at a high level. Cooper Kupp's one of the best receivers in the league.
The offensive line is garbage there too. Their running game is they're less talented than the Broncos.
I think with a few trades and he gets a really talented GM in Les Snead, I think the Rams can retool and be back in the playoff race next year.
Sure.
They got really unlucky with injuries this year, and I think if Sean McVay leaves, Sean Payton comes in LA, and I think he could do a lot of good there and get them back in the playoffs.
That's a good prediction.
I'm not sure about that. I think the Broncos are still good. I think if you're betting, you pick the Broncos just because they already have the opening. I don't hate that idea. I also would love to see Sean Payton in LA with the Chargers, though, if Staley does get fired. And I think, if Staley is fired, you can already book it, I think. Sean Payton with the Chargers.
Yeah. I think they would only fire him for Sean Payton.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. But thank you guys so much for listening. This has been a really fun episode to do. Next week we'll find out in the divisional round. We'll bring on some guests, hopefully, of the teams that are still in the playoff bracket, and we're really excited for what's to come. Check out our Instagram. This is going to be a really big week for the Instagram. We got power rankings for both the AFC and the NFC picks and our playoff brackets.
Ooh.
Last year, that was a really fun post for us to do. I'm really, really excited this year to put it out once again. Make sure to check us out, like we said, on Instagram and YouTube. My name is Arjun Ryan.
I'm Shribam Khanda.
And I'm Ron Patel.
And we'll see you next week in the divisional round on the 5th.